Welcome to Scary Stories, Real or Written. Each of the following tales could be true or completely made up. Can you tell which is which? Let's begin. Sometime in August of 2016, I first noticed him behind my house. I was walking my little terrier, Rocky, near the woods at the edge of the neighborhood. At first, I thought it was just the trees making shadows in an odd way. But then, I specifically noticed a green bow tie sitting neatly below an almost impossibly wide, red painted smile. He wasn't like the clowns in the videos I've been seeing online lately, jumping out, running around, and chasing people. No, he stood perfectly still, head tilted slightly, clearly observing and watching. Not taking my eyes off him, I scooped Rocky up and I ran home faster than I thought possible. The very next night, I saw him again. That same damn clown. This time, he was in the empty parking lot behind the store on the corner of my street. I took Rocky for his evening walk in this direction specifically because I didn't want to see the clown again, and of course, here he is again. I tried to tell myself it was probably someone I knew in a costume, playing a joke on me because the same clown 2 nights in a row, looking at me specifically? Really? I have some friends with a weird, sometimes dark sense of humor, and this is exactly the kind of thing they would do in a time like this. But none of my friends were built like this clown. The clown was too tall and skinny to be any of my friends. And then I noticed the balloons tied to the fence, each with a single wet-looking red mark in the middle, like a smear of paint or blood. This time, I simply did my best not to make direct eye contact and just keep walking, pretending I didn't even see him. Then things started disappearing from my yard and a couple of the neighboring yards. A wheelbarrow from the neighbors across me, my own shovel, some rope, and heavy-duty trash bags from the neighbor's storage shed beside us. Then the notes started showing up in my mailbox. Hand-drawn, shaky letters saying things like, "I see you. Wanna see a magic trick? I can make you disappear. And your little dog, too." After the note started, I became paranoid. Every night, I thought I'd see him again, in the shadows or at the edge of the street. Always standing perfectly still. Always wearing that hideous green bow tie and that stupid red smile. One night, my neighbor, Miss Calloway, came running over, pale as the moon. "I saw one of those clowns last night," she whispered, clutching my arm. "By that old tire swing over there," she said, pointing toward a few houses down. I thought I imagined it, but then he moved, and he looked right at me. She was shaking so hard and had such a grip on my arm, I could barely stand up straight. I wanted to tell her it was probably a prank, someone in a mask. Because at first, I really thought it may be. But since the note started, each one more threatening than the one before, I was becoming increasingly less convinced it was a prank. I decided I couldn't ignore it any longer. I grabbed a flashlight and Rocky, though he whimpered the whole way, and I went toward the woods. My heart pounded so loudly, I felt it for sure he could probably hear it. I found him in the middle of the road, not moving, not even blinking, just standing there with that dumb, menacing grin on his face. But then I noticed he was holding a knife. My flashlight shook in my hands. "Who "Who are you, and what's your deal?" I whispered, completely failing at being confrontational. The clown didn't answer, but then, slowly, impossibly, the smile changed. Not the painted smile, the one behind the paint. His mouth stretched wider than it should, flashing an abnormally long set of teeth. I turned to run. Rocky yelped and bolted alongside me. And then I heard it, a metallic scraping noise behind me. I dared to take a glance behind me. He was following, not running, not chasing, but slowly marching forward as he let the knife scrape along the top of a chain-link fence. I didn't stop until I made it home, shut and locked the door, and then flew up to my bedroom and slammed and locked that door too, breathing like I'd just run a mile. I swung between trying to convince myself it was over because I made it inside, so I'm safe, or debating on calling the police because this maniac has been stalking me for days. Maybe someone was just pranking me? Maybe I imagined the changing smile. Maybe. But I definitely didn't imagine the knife, or all those creepy notes. Surely I could have him charged with something, right? Ultimately, I decided to just let it go for now, unless he tried getting in the house, and so far I hadn't seen any indication of that. But the next night, I heard footsteps outside my window. Light, careful, deliberate. I stayed frozen, sitting on my bed, staring into the darkness, trying not to breathe. A shadow moved, and I thought I saw the glint of those impossibly long teeth. The shadow stopped right outside my window, and then, slowly, it tilted its head as if inspecting me. I didn't move. I didn't blink. And then, as silently as it came, the shadow melted into the night. I didn't leave the house for almost a week. I barely slept either. A couple of times, I thought I heard the faintest creak outside my window and imagined I could see him, watching, waiting, smiling, wearing that stupid green bow tie. It was 2016, at the height of the clown craze. Everywhere you looked, people were posting videos online. Creepy clowns in the woods, in parking lots, outside houses. Everyone was talking about it, warning each other, sharing memes. But me and my two friends, we weren't scared. We were curious. We decided to go looking for one, just for fun. Something to look back on and laugh about later. My friend Paul drove, careful and slow, headlights cutting through the night. My other friend, Heather, sat in the back, scrolling through her phone and muttering things like, "You two are going to get me killed." I was in the passenger seat, laughing at the absurdity of what we were doing, but also low-key gripping the door handle, heart thumping. Not because I was afraid of seeing clowns, but because the area we found ourselves driving through wasn't the safest in broad daylight, never mind at 10 p.m. on a Saturday, with manic clowns supposedly on the loose. For a good while, we saw nothing. A few empty streets, flickering streetlights, the occasional car zooming past. But soon, the streets narrowed. The houses pressed close together. Chain-link fences, broken sidewalks, boarded-up windows, and a bunch of dim lights that cast more shadow than illumination. At one point, I thought I saw a clown for a second, but it ended up being a homeless man. Eventually, we determined we were lost. In the ghetto of High Point, at 10 p.m. on a damn Saturday night. It didn't help that the roads in this neighborhood twisted and curved in ways that didn't make sense. Every turn seemed to bring us back to where we started, and every turn made my stomach twist a little tighter. And then we saw him, a figure standing in the middle of the street ahead of us. At first, I thought it was a street sign or just some crackhead. But then I saw the hair, the painted smile, baggy costume, oversized shoes, and holding an axe. The kind of clown you see in nightmares, not at birthday parties. "Do you guys see that?" I whispered, my voice barely carried over the hum of the engine. Paul's eyes widened. "Yeah, I think so." Heather's phone slipped from her hands onto the floorboard. She whispered, "This isn't real, right? This isn't real?" The clown didn't move. He just watched, head tilted, like he could see into us, into the car, into the exact thoughts running through our minds. Our nervous laughter, our whispered panic, everything, it all seemed to reach him. We tried to drive past, carefully and slowly. Every street we took seemed to twist in impossible ways, like the neighborhood itself didn't want us to leave. And he was still there, always in the corner of our headlights, always watching. Then he moved, not running, not chasing, just gliding forward a few steps, keeping pace with the car. Our breath caught. Heather started muttering, half laughing, half crying. This is a nightmare. This is exactly a nightmare." Paul didn't answer, just gripped the steering wheel tighter, eyes darting from shadow to shadow. Every alley, every darkened yard, every flickering light, it all felt alive, as if the streets themselves were conspiring to keep us there. The reality of the whole situation really started to sink in. We were really, truly being stalked by an actual clown with an axe, in the ghetto, in more or less absolute darkness. At one point, Paul slammed on the brakes. The clown was suddenly closer, standing at the end of the street, his head cocked like he was studying us, considering us. Heather shrieked. I think I might have screamed too. "What the actual hell?" I whispered, my voice caught somewhere between panic and disbelief. We turned again and again. Every turn felt like we were moving in circles. The clown was never more than a glance away, always in the shadows, always that smile. Clearly, he knew the area a lot better than we did. Finally, after what felt like hours, but was probably 15 minutes, we spotted a main road. Relief hit us like a wave. We sped out, not looking back. Not once. The clown was gone, but the memory of that night haunts me to this day. For weeks afterward, when I drove alone near the same part of town, I would catch a flash of something red in my side mirror and feel my heart stop, and my mind immediately took me back to that night. Lost, panicked, trapped in a neighborhood that didn't want us there, with something that might have been more than just a person in a costume. And let me tell you this, if you ever go looking for clowns at night in an area you barely know, make sure you remember the way out. So, let's see how well you did tonight. What's your guess on the first story? The stalker clown with the green bow tie. Well, let me tell you, that story was a complete work of fiction. The only realistic thing in that whole story was the reference at the very beginning to the clown sightings of 2016. Now, how about our second story, where the three friends go out hoping to find a clown and do see one, but that clown had an axe and they were lost in the worst area of town possible. That story was only about 50% truth, and the rest was just written for your entertainment. See, back in 2016, myself and two of my friends did indeed go out on a Saturday night, specifically hoping to spot one of those infamous clowns. And we did end up horribly lost in a bad area. But unfortunately, we did not actually see a clown. So, how did you do? Did you guess either story right? Let me know in the comments how well you did and whether you enjoyed this week's stories. You can also leave suggestions for topics on future videos if you wish. And, last but not least, if you would love to submit a story of your own for a future video, click on the Google form link in the channel description or the video description. I look forward to hearing from you and reading your stories, and I hope you look forward to hearing from me again next week.